What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Bianconeri zone, and welcome back to a crazy news story because we are apparently targeting Connie de Winter in a quote-unquote top deal because of the financial or the potential financial structure of the deal. However, is it a top deal if you just take away the financial aspect, basically, or is it a mistake, yet another mistake again, because we are trying to bring somebody in who should, or the next signing in the backline should, improve our backline. Is Connie de Winter that type of player? And that it's not the only piece of news. There's also some funny news about Douglas Luiz I want to talk about. But before we get into it, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's go. Now, Connie de Winter. So the news is, I think everybody saw the news, but I'm on holiday, so I couldn't really discuss it yesterday. So I'm doing it today. But it's more than just Connie de Winter. The news is that we are serious about bringing in or trying to bring in Connie de Winter this summer, and a deal is becoming, or a deal could be easy for us. Let me rephrase it, because we have a 20% option on it, or like on the transfer fee. We get 20%, 25% of the potential transfer fee of Connie de Winter, which apparently, which is still weird, Genoa won 25 million euros. And we will end up paying 12 to 50 million euros, according to Di Natale, if we, if activate that, or like if we get that money and whatever, and even then it really makes sense. There's more to it, but let's say 50 million euros to bring back Connie de Winter to the club. I will say this: if we need to act, or if we want to bring back all players in that position, it should be Huijsen, because that was a massive mistake. On de Winter, he's a good player. Good. He's not special from what I've seen. Again, good is okay. Like, it's not bad. It's good, but he's not a player I'm looking at and I'm like, I'm pairing you with Bremer, and that's unbelievable. It's not. Like, let's be honest about the situation. I was hoping the club would target somebody we could pair with Bremer, and we were like, wow. And not just a ready-made, just Huijsen, for example, the type of player with the potential or the already know-how to say, that's it. That's an amazing partnership. The reason they will go for de Winter, because he can play in a back three. In a back four, it's flexible. And again, he's a good defender. Does he improve us massively? Not really. I think if you pair Bremer and Kalulu at the back, I don't think de Winter is an upgrade, if I'm being completely honest. I don't even think he's an upgrade on Gatti, and you know what I think about Gatti. I don't view de Winter as a player where I'm like, you have an amazing high ceiling. I've not seen that. I think he's a good player, and if you have him in your squad, fantastic. But I think we already have those type of players in our squad. I was looking more for some player where I was like, wow, the potential is insane, or the potential is already here and he's proven it, and it's like, I can pair you with Bremer and we can go, basically. So I'm a bit iffy on that news. I'm not excited about that news, if I'm being completely honest. It's a good deal in terms of it's 50 million, even though it's weird because he was your player. You're just buying him back for a bit more than you sold him to, or the double, basically. You sold him to Genoa. So I don't really have an issue with that aspect of it, if I'm being completely honest. I have more of an issue that I'm fearing that that's it. If we bring in de Winter, you keep Kalulu, you already have Kelly. I don't know what's gonna happen with Cambiaso. Maybe you try to keep Vega. Is that for me, amazing or something to be really excited about? No, I'm not gonna lie. And I like Vega, I like Kalulu, but for the club I supported for all these years, it's not what I'm looking for, if I'm being completely honest. And I don't expect us to sign, I don't know, Kubarsi or these type of players. I get it. I need to be realistic. However, we already have a lot of those players. Adding one more, I don't see how that's going to move the needle more so than kind of extending the issue already at the club, So I don't know. Let me know what you think, because a lot of people actually do rate de Winter highly. I think he's a good player, but not to the extent where I'm like, amazing, especially because like if our backline was, I don't know, players that nobody cared about, like, because I think Kalulu can do a job, I think Vega can do a job, but it's not to an extent where I'm like, oh my God, yes, it's such an upgrade on these two players where I'm like, I can live with that. This is what we need. Not really, So let me know in the comments what you think. I wanted to wrap up with the Douglas Luiz story because Sky Italia, and actually I was at a place and Sky Italia was on. So I heard him talking about it as well in the studio, talking about Douglas Luiz, wanting to prove himself in the last 7 games. And it made me laugh, because there's nothing to prove anymore. I think the club made his decision already. I think he made his decision as well that he wants to return to the Premier League. It hasn't worked out. More so because of injuries, which is insane because he was injury free for his entire career basically. That was more the issue than the performances, because there were no performances, because for 50% of the games he wasn't even fit to play, So the next 7 games mean squat, because he's probably not going to play. With 1 game a week, I don't think Tudor is going to break up Thuram and Locatelli in that midfield, or Colt Miners. Now he's injured, I get it, but Tudor is not going to break that up. Tudor, with 7 games to go, has his lineup, and his lineup is what we've seen in the last couple of weeks. It's Kalulu, it's Vega, it's Kelly. Cambiasso probably when he's back, probably Wea, it's Thuram, it's Locatelli, it's Colt Miners, it's Vlahovic no matter what, it's Seals. Like, we know what his lineup is already. He's not going to do with 1 game a week going with players he doesn't really trust anymore. He is nothing like what Tudor needs to prove is getting top 4, not to make Douglas Luiz play football basically. That's not his task. He's not thinking about that. So he's done, Douglas Luiz, at this club. Unless the coach comes in and he's like, no, do not sell him. I can work with Douglas Luiz, which I don't think is going to happen. The club will move on. But I thought the news was kind of funny because what's 7 games to go, it's done. It's Thuram, it's Locatelli. Now heading to Parma, we have injuries. Yildiz is injured, Colt Miners is injured, McKennie is injured, and they probably will not be called up, which is a massive blow, especially Yildiz, which will be a problem against a Parma side away from home. Not easy, and they're fighting relegation. You saw what they did to Inter. It's going to be a tough game. So he's not going to use a player like Douglas Luiz in those situations. He's not going to go to Douglas Luiz and say, you know what, I need you to get me out of this top 4 mess, or whatever you want to call it. So I thought it was a funny bit of news. Anyways, let me know what you think about the winter, and if you're actually excited about bringing him back for 50 million. Let's say 50 million. Let me know in the comments, and I will speak to you guys tomorrow.